All right, folks, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Monday, January 14th, 2019. Iowa Congressman Steve King's racist comments in last week's New York Times are still getting him in a heap of trouble. Democratic congressmen have introduced resolutions to censure him in the House, and GOP leadership is also attacking him. We'll give you all the latest on that. But Donald Trump says he's not following this story. Yeah, right. The man who spends half of his day watching the news. Then again, he is watching Fox News, and they're not covering this story. Condemning King is tough for Trump because they both pretty much believe the same thing. And King said it, I sit at the table for Donald Trump when it comes to immigration. All right, folks, so we'll also talk about Donald Trump tweeting out a Pat Buchanan column supporting his position on immigration, but the same column where Pat Buchanan has white supremacist rhetoric. Oh, yes, I'm going to be breaking that thing down. Also, some sad news. Florida Congressman Alcee Hastings revealed today that he has pancreatic cancer. And we'll give you those details. Plus, a controversy surrounding Angela Davis, now rescinded award from the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, has led 3 board members to resign, and now the Civil Rights Institute has finally issued a formal apology. Also, CBS News was talked a lot about this weekend on social media when they released a graphic showing all the reporters who will be political embeds in the 2020 campaign. The problem is there were no black people. And it's a problem. I'll explain. Also, y'all, unbelievable video of this crazy white man in North Carolina attacking a group of black girls and knocking out this 12-year-old black girl at a mall in Asheville, North Carolina. His punk ass was arrested. We can't wait to show you his mugshot. Also, Charleston, South Carolina was a place where more Africans were brought to the United States for slavery. Pretty soon, there's going to be a museum to commemorate the history of African Americans there in Charleston. Now, also, because of rising costs, they must raise more money for the museum. We'll talk with the director of that museum right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin!
All right, folks, mainstream media, they have been ignoring pretty much the white supremacist comments of Iowa Republican Congressman Steve King. Media Matters, of course, last week, we had him on the show saying 5 times more coverage of a freshman congresswoman from Detroit calling Trump a MF than Steve King's comment. Well, the constant pressure continued over the weekend as Republicans were put in a position where they had no choice but to condemn Steve King, saying that white nationalists, white supremacists, Western civilization, how did that language become offensive? Well, of course, remember, on Friday, we had Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio saying he was looking into filing a resolution for censure. Well, today, Congressman Bobby Rush of Illinois will introduce a resolution to actually censure him. This is what Rush said in a statement. This Congress will not turn a blind eye to its repugnant and racist behavior. Anything short of censure would be shallow. Now, the third-ranking member of the Democratic House leadership team, Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, is also introducing a censure resolution. He told the Washington Post he was moved to act by Tuesday's 90th anniversary of the birth of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is what Congressman Clyburn said. I call this a tale of two kings. We've got to break our silence on these kinds of things. Now, Republicans, of course, they were not so silent about this. Pressure had to be placed upon them. Guess who finally said something today? Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky. This is what he told the Washington Post. I have no tolerance for such positions, and those who espouse these views are not supporters of American ideals and freedoms. Representative King's statements are unwelcome and unworthy of his elected position. If he doesn't understand why white supremacy is offensive, he should find another line of work. Now remember, these are the same Republicans who for years have worked with Congressman Steve King, have campaigned for him, have sought his endorsement on many issues, and have ignored his previous racist comments. They spent lots of time on the Sunday morning shows yesterday sharing their views about Steve King.
Omar, so I came out at the very moment. That language has no place in America. That is not the America I know, and it's most definitely not the party of Lincoln.
Should he be punished for it?
I have a scheduled meeting with him on Monday, and I will tell you this. I've watched on the other side that they do not take action when their members say something like that. Action will be taken. I'm having a serious conversation with Congressman Steve King on his future and role in this Republican Party.
What does that
because
mean?
as a leader, there is a number of things you'll see that has taken place. But I will not stand back as a leader of this party, believing in this nation that all are created equal, that stands or continues to stand and have any role with us.
Well, you've seen all of our House leaders, from Kevin McCarthy, myself, Liz Cheney, rejecting what Steve King said, pushing back and calling on him to come back and denounce it. I would recommend that Steve King go and read the op-ed by our colleague, Senator Tim Scott, which was very poignant. I will say, George, as they talk about Steve King on the Democrat side, we've pushed back against his comments. There have been many Democrats who have said not only highly offensive things, align themselves with anti-Semites, have called on physical violence. They haven't pushed back on any of that language. We've got to raise the bar on civility, George. We need to call it out on the Republican side and the Democrat side. I've been willing to call it out on both. It's time those Democrat leaders you just mentioned call it out when it happens on their side as well.
But yes or no, will Republican leaders call for any action against Congressman King?
I would imagine we're going to continue talking about this. This just popped up on Friday. We were very quick to reject those comments. There is no place for hate, for bigotry, or anybody who supports that ideology. It's evil ideology. We all ought to stand up against it. But it's easy when the Democrats condemn a Republican. I don't see the Democrats condemning Democrats on their side who are doing this kind of thing and using this kind of language, George.
What Steve King said was stupid. It was stupid. It was hurtful. It was wrong, and he needs to stop it. I think all of us ought to be united, regardless of party, in saying white supremacism, white nationalism is hatred, it is bigotry, it is evil, it is wrong. And I think we need that clarity, and I'm certainly going to urge everyone to provide that clarity.
Except he wasn't so clear as to whether or not he would not endorse Steve King in the future. Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all also know that it was Steve King who was chair of Ted Cruz's campaign, right? Yeah. So the question also, will Republicans support the censure? Now, folks, it is 6:12 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. We still don't know what happened in the meeting with Kevin McCarthy and Steve King. So exactly what are Republicans going to do? I don't think they're going to do jack. Okay? Not going to do jack. Because you know what? Guess who also hasn't said anything? The chairwoman of the Republican Party, Ronna Romney McDaniel. Nothing. I've been in her Twitter feed. Haven't seen jack. Donald Trump, up until today, hadn't said anything. Well, today he was off to New Orleans. Even though he said he was going to Nashville, he was clueless where this farm convention was. He was asked by reporters about this. He had a brief meeting with the press before he left the White House via helicopter. A reporter asked him whether he had any comment on Steve King's latest racist comments. Here's Trump.
I haven't been following it. I really haven't been following it.
Do y'all realize how much TV this man watches? All he does is spend his time on watching Fox News and on Twitter. Now I got it. Because he watches Fox News, that's why he has seen the story. Because Fox News has pretty much ignored the Steve King story. Because it probably appeals to their viewers. I mean, they literally spent no time. In fact, Media Matters said that the time they did spend on this story, they framed it as Steve King fighting critics of the story. Really? But this is the man who said he somehow missed this. I'm going to play it again. This is what Donald Trump said.
I haven't been following it. I really haven't been following it.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand something. So because you haven't been following it, you can't comment? If someone says, this is what Steve King said, you can't offer a comment about that? Really? Maybe that's because this is the same president who has no problem quoting a fellow white supremacist such as Pat Buchanan. Folks, this was a tweet that Donald Trump sent out over the weekend as he was trying to rally support for his wall. The tweet says, quote, "Border is eventually going to be militarized and defended, or the United States, as we have known it, is going to cease to exist. And Americans will not go gentle into that good night. Patrick Buchanan, the great people of our country demand proper border security." Now, here's what Trump did not tell you. Why Pat Buchanan wants the wall. In that very same column from Pat Buchanan, he wrote this, quote, "The more multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural, multilingual America becomes, the less it looks like Ronald Reagan's America. The more dependently democratic it will become. The Democratic Party is hostile to white men because the smaller the share of the U.S. population that white men become, the sooner that Democrats inherit the national estate. The only way to greater diversity, the golden calf of the Democratic Party, is to increase the number of women, African Americans, Asians, and Hispanics, and thereby reduce the number of white men." Okay, Pat, here's the real fundamental problem here with your whole, oh my God, they're after the white men. Y'all ain't been using your sperm. That's actually the problem. The problem ain't us. The problem is white folks ain't been getting busy. Do you understand, Patrick and Trump and Steve King, that the reason the demographic numbers are also changing is not because of immigration, because white people are not keeping up with current population. And in fact, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention actually released that information talking about it. I'm going to pull up in a second, but they actually laid out in terms of where we stand right now, the reason we're going to need immigration, because Americans overall are not having enough children. Who's having the least amount of babies? White people. Black people and Latinos are not having as many babies. This is really about sex, Pat. Now, maybe the problem is a bunch of white women ain't trying to have sex with y'all the way y'all look. But if you really want to understand what's going on in America, it has to do with who is not procreating. And see, here's the deal. Y'all love, y'all love talking about black people aborting babies. Pat, y'all might want to stop focused on black people and focus on white women who are having abortions. See, y'all, to understand what's going on here is to realize that Steve King and Donald Trump and Pat Buchanan and Stephen Miller and all of these folks, this thing boils down to the issue of they do not want this to be a country that is run by non-white people. Patrick Buchanan has been saying these very things his entire life. Patrick Buchanan, a story was done 2 years ago that Donald Trump is literally the reincarnation of Pat Buchanan. This is no shock that Donald Trump would retweet this comment from Patrick Buchanan in one of his racist screeds, because Pat Buchanan has always been afraid of black and brown people taking over. Why? Because Patrick Buchanan is saying out loud what a lot of other white folks actually think. I'm not saying all white people. I'm not saying every white person. But we have to come to grips with this nonsense bullshit from mainstream media that it's white economic anxiety. That's the reason that's going on here. No, it's not. Show me somebody black who doesn't have economic anxiety. Show me somebody Latino or somebody Asian, somebody Native American. No, what is so special about white folks and economic anxiety? It is because we have lived in a white nation. We've lived in a nation where the entire system was set up and established for white people. Every single system, corporate America, NFL owners boxes, Wall Street, education, every single system has set up for that case. When Bill Spriggs was on here last week, what did he say? A white man with a high school diploma is making the same or even more than a black person with a college degree. That is America. And so what they are all saying out loud is, if we could try our best to limit this, and when Trump says all of these presidents did nothing, what he's saying is, y'all let them in the country, and now they're about to overrun us because y'all, by 2043, America is going to be a nation, majority people of color. And folks like Donald Trump and folks like Pat Buchanan and Steve King and Richard Spencer and Stephen Miller and Charlie Kirk, and the list goes on and on and on, and essentially the entire Republican apparatus, they cannot handle this nation not being dominated by white people. My panel, Dr. Greg Carr, Chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University; Michael Brown, former Vice Chair of the DNC Finance Committee; Eugene Craig, CEO of the Eugene Craig Organization, Republican as well. Eugene, I'll start with you. That's what this boils down to. This is, when you look at what Republicans are doing, Trump has nominated a woman for the seat of Brett Kavanaugh, okay, who wrote some of the most ridiculous stuff on race at Yale when she was in college. They are purposely appointing 34 and 35 and 38-year-old federal judges, so they will be in those positions for the next 40 years, which means that if, I need y'all to understand, if we are 25 years away from America becoming a nation majority people of color, they are appointing individuals who are going to be federal judges for an additional generation after we achieve that. So even when we hit majority people of color majority in this country, they are appointing individuals who, if they stay on the bench to their 75 and 80 lifetime appointments, they will still be in control of the levers of power when the nation changes.
Yep, and the precedence of the rulings and decisions that come out of their benches will live for hundreds of years after they're gone from the bench, which is probably the most dangerous part of that. But if I could take a step back to your initial Steve King comments and tell you what black Republicans are doing. Tomorrow we're going to be releasing a joint letter, about 30, 40 of us, taking a very strong stance against Steve King and putting pressure on the Iowa GOP, the House Leadership Caucus, the House Caucus leadership, and a couple other entities to actually do something about Steve King. We're going to be following that up with a press conference and also sit down with his primary opponent.
Michael, I'm trying to make this thing broader because I think people need to understand this, that what Steve King is. First of all, Steve King has been reelected 9 times. Okay, so the people in his district don't care what he says, which tells me that they agree with what he says. If you want to run for president on the Republican side, You went to go kiss his ass because you needed his support in Iowa. He's been a kingmaker. What he is laying out, what Patrick Buchanan has always said, what Donald Trump has fully embraced, is literally a racist rhetoric that is targeting those voters, and what they're saying without saying it is, build this damn wall before they come over here and take this thing over.
Absolutely. And I think one of the only things they have to figure out, whether it's on the punishment side, and I was just asking Eugene a minute ago, had he heard anything about the Kevin McCarthy meeting and what happened, what transpired? Have you heard anything?
No.
So punishment has to sting, like we do with our children. It has to mean something so they don't do it again. Whether you take his office away and put him in the annex, in the basement of Cannon, whether you take him off all the committees, or you start having conversations about taking those early primaries out of Iowa. That's another way you punish folks. So then the voters even say, oh, snap, we can't have that. We like being first or second.
There you go.
You have to really inflict some pain. And until they really inflict pain, Steve King is going to continue.
No. Mitt Romney, Senator Mitt Romney of Utah told CNN, quote, I think he ought to step aside, and I think Congress ought to make it very clear he has no place there. Eugene, go ahead, and Greg.
So the thing is this: I am of the mindset that he needs to be stripped of his committee seats. I don't think he has the dignity to actually resign the seat.
Oh no, he's not resigning,
even with pressure. But the thing is this: if you strip him of his committee seats, you now stripped away his financial backing, because if he's not on the judiciary or ag, he's not going to be able to have influence within Congress, and his financial donors are not going to be willing to cut checks to him because he can't do the bidding anymore. Part of this is that he does big ags bidding in Iowa very well from his perch in Congress. So if you get rid of his seats, his committee slots in Congress, it gives his primary challenger a great big leg up, because his financial support will dry up overnight.
Greg, I must read this to you before you comment. This is Time Magazine, 2015. Henry, go to my iPad, please. Quote, Mitt Romney will not attend a Saturday gathering of Republican presidential candidates hosted by a congressman controversial for his statements on immigrants. The person cited previously scheduled family arrangements as keeping Romney away from the event hosted by Iowa Republican Steve King. This is January 2015. That's 4 years ago. There is nothing about his comments last week that are new.
Brother.
So when he called a freshman a mistake, total BS.
No question. And it's important that folks listen to you very carefully about keeping our eye on the ball. I'm glad, Mitt Romney, if nothing else, he seems to be, a observant Mormon. Of course, going back to his father, George, I think Mitt Romney was born in Mexico, wasn't he? I mean, so in other words, he kind of knows. but like you said, this isn't new. Bobby Rush's statement today, with the piece he introduced, there was a line there where he said, ignore all these condemnations come from the GOP. Why? Steve King is convenient right now. He's a convenient distraction. What does that mean? I mean, let's look at this. Mitch McConnell is Steve King. If he weren't, Neil Gorsuch wouldn't be on the Supreme Court. He held an open Supreme Court seat for a year by playing the race card against Barack Obama. What you said about the judiciary is very important. People cannot miss that. The reason that there is not more funding for Trump after he left-turned on the entire Congress was because the GOP tried to get all their agenda through and let him appeal to this racist base. Anytime they want to open the federal government, they can do it right now. Mitch McConnell will not call a vote to the floor because he has played the race card the whole time.
Right.
Finally, the only other thing I would say is this. About a quarter of the 23 censures that there have been in history of United States Congress, and you walked through this history last week, were for what they call unparliamentary language. That includes cursing. Yeah. Watch what they do. Yep. After they condemn Steve King, they're coming for Rashida Tlaib.
And first of all, they're probably going to tie it together.
Come on, brother. Go ahead.
They're probably going to say, oh, if y'all want us to vote on that, you got to censure her.
That's exactly right. And that's where they're going with this. And meanwhile, people not getting their checks. People out here destroyed. TSA lines closing down. People can't get their rent with Section 8.
Let me also say this here. Again, 2015, Mitt Romney chose not to go to Steve King's Iowa Freedom Summit. That's right. But let me read to you who was there.
Come on.
Everybody else.
Ted Cruz.
Everybody else.
Chris Christie. Rick Perry.
The rest of the field.
Scott Walker. Right. Mike Huckabee. Rick Santorum. Sarah Palin. This is not a guy who is walking out of the mainstream of the Republican Party. and Mike, I want to go to you here. What's also interesting is that, and this is where, and I don't know why, you know, I don't know if he changed his number. I called him and I texted him. He ain't hit me back. He ain't called me back. But this is where they all are pretty much like whatever the Senator Tim Scott. This is where, this is where Senator Tim Scott needs to channel Senator Ed Brooke. This is the moment where Senator Tim Scott needs to get out from the desk, not write op-eds in the Washington Post, and literally come out and speak directly to this nation. This is where Mia Love, who's been running her mouth, oh yes, she got signed by CNN, but who won't come talk to black people, talk about the party, this is where Congressman Will Hurd must step up as the only black Republican in the United States House. This is where they must say, this is simply unacceptable in our party. Don't you dare call yourselves the party of Lincoln again if you're unwilling to condemn and censure Steve King. At some point, this is where they got to have the guts to do it. Michael, go ahead.
I guess I have more faith in Congressman Hurd than the other two. Mia Love has no excuse. She absolutely could come out tomorrow. She has nothing holding her back. You can forget it on Tim Scott. He loves, I know, hold on, that's your boy. Senator Scott loves being in on those photo ops at the White House. He loves being the only one, and he is not about to take food out of his own mouth. Lindsey Graham has his back, and whatever Lindsey Graham basically tells him to do, he's going to do.
But I'm going to push back.
Go ahead.
That. This may be privileged information, but I'm going to defend Tim Scott here. He is having very active discussions with House leadership. There is a certain one House shouldn't tell the other House to do with their business, and so he is having discussions with the leadership, with the House caucus. He's having discussions with the Freedom Caucus. You know, because the issue is that you deal with Steve King on the House within the actual GOP caucus, but if you continue to caucus with the Freedom Caucus and they give him influence and power, that's the issue. So Tim Scott's doing a lot on background. But he does suffer from being, being the only one is a gift and a curse.
But here's the piece though. On issues like this, dude, they can't touch him.
Right. I agree.
On issues, it's just like when they appointed that racist judge, and when he said no, pull that name.
Right. Yep.
The moment if Tim Scott had remained silent, that person would have been confirmed.
That's right.
But when he said. And this is the power of a single United States senator.
Right.
And this is where, again, where I believe Senator Tim Scott can be like an Ed Brooke, who had no problem, Greg, taking his party to the woodshed. It was Ed Brooke, folks, who broke the back of the filibuster in the United States Senate when it came to the Fair Housing Act in 1968.
That's right.
He fought it in 66 and 67 and finally made it happen in 68. If it wasn't for his leadership, those Republicans would have continued to filibuster along with those Southern Democrats.
That's right. I mean, I have to agree with Mike on this one. You know, Tim Scott is showing his character at this point. When you evoke Ed Brooke, you're evoking the last time in terms of the 60s and 70s where the Republicans can genuinely say they're the quote-unquote party of Lincoln. They are now the home of open white supremacy. The Dixiecrats all moved to the Republican Party. Tim Scott is from a state that has a plurality of black voters. If he truly wants, the only reason the Republican Party cannot appeal to non-white people is because they have made whiteness the center of their political agenda, preserving it. Otherwise, Tim Scott, if he were a man, now he can say what he wants. He can't come from me because I'm a grown man. And just like all the men on this panel and all the women in here, if he were a man, this would apply to a woman either, he would stand up in South Carolina and say this is wrong. And he would stand in the tradition of Ed Brooke, a Republican. But that man, as you said, skinning and grinning at the Rose Garden while they give away tax cuts to billionaires, refusing to call for reopening the federal government when he's got thousands of constituents who are losing their checks as we speak. Tim Scott is showing who he is.
I just think again, I thought his editorial was on point. I simply believe that Senator Tim Scott will actually elevate himself in the party.
Yes.
I think he will absolutely elevate himself in the party, Eugene, if he stands up, not written, but comes out of his own mouth, and floor of the Senate or somewhere else, and literally say, where we have it, and it's in a loop.
Yep.
This man does not belong
in the party.
In the halls, no, not just in the party, in the halls of the United States Congress, and not in our party.
That's right.
I agree with you, and I mean I don't agree with the attacks on Senator Scott's character. I mean, when
I'm not attacking his character.
You attack this character.
I'm not attacking his character at all. I say he's the man. He stand up and say the right thing.
But the thing is this:
his state is 40+% black, man.
It's still developing, and if he were to, it would not be the first time he does. I can go back to the 3 speeches he gave on police brutality when the entire Congress was jammed up. Was jammed up.
Why you mention
but the reason I'm going here is because
I do agree.
The reason I'm going here is because
he could take advantage.
This is the kind of stuff that I keep laying out. This right here is why black people as a whole will say, "Yo, man, I can't mess with y'all party."
Right.
I'm telling you right now. I know some black people,
many,
who. Young, middle-aged, and old.
Yes.
Who would literally listen and give the GOP a shot.
Absolutely.
They don't self-identify as Democrats.
That's right.
They are not far-left liberal.
That's right.
Many of them are pro-life.
Yes.
They love Jesus, and our whole line.
Culture conservative.
But what happens is...
What
happens is, on this one, they say, this is why I can't mess with y'all.
Exactly.
Because if you can't even call that dude out, we know you're not going to call out anything else.
Which I agree with. I mean, I tell my part of the time, look, you treat issue that matters to voters, you address it. When it comes to black people, you mess up with us.
Watch this, Eugene. Watch this. He's from South Carolina. Later on, Roland's going to do this thing on the museum. Robert Smalls, Robert Elliott. If you want to talk about black Republicans in South Carolina, Tim Scott could rewrite the history of that party in the state by connecting it to the true history of the Republic, if they're serious. Otherwise, stop all that party of Lincoln mess. Stop it now.
All right, folks. So we are waiting to hear what Congressman Kevin McCarthy does in his meeting with Congressman Steve King. So we'll see what happens. All right, folks, going to a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about, the museum opening in Charleston, and also we'll talk about this crazy white man actually punching this sister, 12-year-old. This punk ass is now in jail. I'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, a lot of people out there, of course, who had all these New Year's resolutions with the first of the year. We know what happens. They promise to eat better, and then they want to go work out and start walking more, and they want to put down the ribs and the fried chicken and the cakes, and then that's like a last about 3 days, and then it's all good. Well, the issue for a lot of us is, where do you start? Now, de-herbs cleanse is one of the ways that some folks look to. I've actually done it a couple of times, and I'm currently doing it right now, and so I know the doc who developed this, and again, it's a full body cleanse. And the thing about it is, it's a little different, and it takes some getting used to, especially if you're a meat lover like myself. So first and foremost, what happens is they have a 10-day cleanse and they have a 20-day cleanse. I've done both of those as well. What you do is, it's all a matter of which one you do, raw fruits and vegetables. That's it. So no processed foods, no fried foods. You can't have meats, any of those things. You can't even have cooked vegetables. The whole point of this is really to detox and cleanse your entire body. It's to help you get rid of the toxic buildup that will not only drag you down, but also could be very dangerous if you don't do anything about it. The purpose of the cleanse is to make you feel better, stop dragging, and also give you more energy. Now, if you want to lose some stubborn pounds, you could start the de-herbs full body cleanse. And here's what I want you to do. Like I say, I'm on it. I started last Monday. So this is actually day 8 of the 20-day cleanse. Now again, hasn't been the easiest thing, man. It's hard to pass up at 3-piece, but you got to do it. And so down 11 pounds since last week. But again, it's all about cleansing your system. So this is what I want you to do right now. I want you to go to deherbs.com. That's DHERBS.com, and use the promo code Roland. You will get a discount at your checkout. Again, it's dherbs.com. You can also call 866-4DHERBS. That's 866-4DHERBS. 866-4DHERBS. Again, use the promo code Roland. This is all about, again, you starting off the new year, 2019, trying to be a new you. Of course, y'all been on Instagram and social media. You've seen all these photos with the hashtag 10-day, 10-year challenge. Folks showing what they look like 10 years ago compared to now. Well, guess what? If you do this, your 10 years from now could look a hell of a lot different than some other people as well. And so we want you to try the D-Herb Cleanse. I want to hear your stories as well. If you do it with me, I want you to hit me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. Let me know how you're doing with it. And it's certainly a great thing that we can all do together. It's all about just restarting you, getting you ready for a great 2019. Again, go to dherbs.com and use the promo code Roland, and we'll see how it all goes. All right, folks. Florida Democratic Congressman Alcee Hastings, of course, a former federal judge, announced today in an email that he was being treated for pancreatic cancer. In the statement, read in part, he said, "Now that I have begun treatment, I feel hopeful about survival and about my ability to continue serving my constituents of Florida's 20th Congressional District and the nation." Now, of course, Hastings is 82 years old, and he is certainly in our prayers. We have reached out to him, and hopefully we will have him on the show very soon. All right, folks, let's also talk about Birmingham. We covered, of course, last week all the drama with the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute rescinding the award they were going to give to Angela Davis next month. Now, of course, as a result of that decision, caused a huge uproar when they made the decision. 3 board members actually resigned as a result. And the Institute has finally released a statement, finally, speaking as the entire Institute, quote, "Each member of the board of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute deeply regrets the impact that the handling of the Reverend Fred L. Shuttlesworth Human Rights Award has had on Dr. Angela Davis, the city of Birmingham, and many others who have been impacted by our handling of the award. We are sorry. We acknowledge that the culmination of our decisions and actions has caused division in the community and compromised the good name of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute on the world stage. Regardless of the outcome of our vote, many have rightfully questioned our selection process, which we vow to improve. In hindsight, more time, conversation, and consideration of diverse viewpoints should have informed our decision to rescind our nomination, and we were silent for far too long afterward. Again, we accept responsibility and are sorry." There are many lessons we are already learning from the situation in the coming weeks. We will take steps to learn even more. We ask you to still maintain your support of the Institute as we attempt to regain your trust and learn from this experience. Thank you. Really? I guess some people thought I would be satisfied with that statement. But let me go back to something in this statement. Pull it up, please. Regardless of the outcome of our vote, many have rightfully questioned our selection process, which we vow to improve. In hindsight, more time, conversation, and consideration of diverse viewpoints should have informed our decision to rescind our nomination. No. See, I want y'all to see that again. Y'all, I'm in the business of words. I want you to see how they mix two things together. Let me read it again. Regardless of the outcome of our vote, many have rightfully questioned our selection process. Stop right there. Now remember, y'all, there were 2 votes. 1 vote to give Angela Davis the award. The 2nd vote to rescind the award. This statement speaks to her being chosen in the first place. Let me read it again. Regardless of the outcome of our vote, many have rightfully questioned our selection process. Stop. So they've rightfully questioned the selection of Angela Davis. They then say, which we vow to improve. They then mix the selection of Angela Davis with the rescinding of the award by saying, quote, pull it up, in hindsight, more time, conversation, and consideration of diverse viewpoints should have informed our decision to rescind our nomination. Stop. So what they're saying is they were right to question the selection of Angela Davis, but we should have listened to other voices before we decided to rescind the award to Angela Davis. So what they're actually saying is we really should not have given the award to Angela Davis in the first place.
That's right. Yep.
Go to our panel. I'm just saying, is it just me?
No.
Is it just me?
One of the third rails of American politics is this boycott divestment movement with Palestine and Israel. Whether you say Angela Davis was once a communist or she was on the FBI most wanted list, the contemporary issue is this question. You've got legislation at the state level. They're trying to introduce it in Congress now to make it a crime to boycott somebody. Clearly, what you just parsed for us speaks to the politics and the economics behind the Birmingham Rights Center. And finally, how ironic is it that boycotts is the reason that the civil rights movement took off in the first place? What would Fred Shuttlesworth think right now in his name that they would do what you just said?
I just knew I was just going to overlook that.
Well, I don't think they were planning on that statement to be broken down live on national airways.
No question about it, brother.
Well, they thought I was going to be pleased with the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
No. I read the stuff that's in the middle, too.
Reading is fundamental, brother.
It's very similar to how I don't call Trump president, I call him 45.
Yes, sir.
How 45 talks to his voters like they're stupid. And that statement was very similar until you broke it down. And hopefully your viewers, that's why the show is so important, because your viewers now get to see, oh, snap.
That's right.
That's what that statement said.
Yeah, you apologizing because you got your behind kicked as a result of you rescinding the award. But really, the problem you having is, damn, had we never picked Angela Davis in the first place, we wouldn't be having this problem. And so the people who did not like us picking Angela Davis, they're actually saying, no, they were right to question our process. Well, wait a minute. Why is that?
Brother.
Okay, I know y'all thought that was going to be the case. But wrong brother.
Wrong brother.
Wrong brother,
That's
wrong
it.
century.
That's it.
All right, y'all. CBS News got themselves in some hot water on social media over the weekend when they dropped this graphic on Twitter, one of their folks announcing the folks who are going to be covering their 2020 campaign. 2020 campaign reporters, 2020 associate producers. Now, the deal is, of course, when they announced this, I mean, literally when you read the announcement, it was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be covering. Now, we all know that they're going to be covering the campaigns of Democrats. Now, the thing is, there are 4 people of color who are in there, but ain't nobody black. Trust me, social media, they were real quick to point this thing out. There were numerous people, National Association of Black Journalists, other folks as well, including folks like myself, who saw what was going on and who said, we got some issues. Eugene got to go, y'all. That's why he's skipping on out right now. What do you think I wasn't going to say? You walk out in the studio? So I'm sitting here, and so Kerry Washington also tweeted. Alexandria Ortiz, she just went off with him. She also blasted them as well. Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Now, NABJ, I'm a vice president for digital for NABJ, reached out to them. They've told us that their team isn't complete. The problem is the statement sounded like the team was complete. And see, Greg, this is what happens when, now here's a piece. They've got number 2 person at CBS News is a black woman. The managing editor of the Washington Bureau is a black woman. They've got somebody else who they recently hired about a month ago. They've got another, the head of the CBS Evening News and head of diversity. I know her well. Kim Godwin is a black woman. But the problem is you don't send that out if you're not complete, because you have to anticipate that's going to be the response. Now people are saying, oh, now y'all trying to say it's not complete because you got the criticism. And if folks don't understand, people who watch it don't understand, who might say, okay, what's the big deal? Y'all need to understand. Pull the graphic up, please. I need you to understand that these are your next generation White House correspondents. These are your next generation national correspondents. The people who work as campaign reporters, what happens is if that candidate goes on to win, they then get elevated. You don't believe me? Look at the last campaign. You had an all-female team for MSNBC. Hallie Jackson, Casey Hunt, Kristen Welker. I can go down the line. Katie Tur. Guess what? Katie Tur now hosts her own show on MSNBC. Casey Hunt, national correspondent on Capitol Hill, hosts her own show on MSNBC. Kristen Welker, White House correspondent. You have Hallie Jackson, okay, White House correspondent, hosts her own show on MSNBC. And so don't think for a second that we don't know exactly what the deal here in terms of how this happens. Who also do you think are going to be the people who are going to be elevated to become the evening news anchor for CBS, the host on the morning show? Scott Pelley, who was formerly the evening news anchor for CBS, was a White House correspondent. Before that, campaign correspondent. And so this is why these things matter in terms of folks being in these positions. Greg, they got some cleaning up to do.
They do, Roland. And, you know, this is one of the things that, and I agree with what Mike said a minute ago, you know, this is why this platform is so important. You know, I think about the book that you wrote on Obama and the Obama phenomenon, and then what your work with CNN and on cable news generally. You know, if you don't understand this politics, you will miss the importance. But I also think, and I also think, this thing is beyond cable broadcast television now. People are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. They're talking about this North Star thing getting started. Whatever. The point is this: as viewership shifts, they've got to catch up. They could take a step back into the 20th century and become completely obsolete. But the only last thing I'll say is, I think this is something you might have to devote an hour or two on Roland Martin Unfiltered to helping people unpack, because as I'm looking at what happened to Ebony and didn't happen to Ebony, what happened to TV1 didn't happen to TV1. Black media matters. It isn't just a matter of having a few reporters plugged in. This platform, nobody's going to walk through what you walk through on this show like you walk through it. We have to do both. We have to walk and chew gum, but I think you're going to probably have to do this another dozen times.
Oh, no, Scott, because, I mean, here's the deal. Here's the deal, Mike. And you understand this, and I need people who are watching to understand this, especially a bunch of y'all who are not even born. First of all, for mainstream media outlets, it's only recent, and when I say recent, I'm talking about 30 years, that black people are covering national campaigns. Okay, guess what changed all of this? 1984, when Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. ran for the Democratic nomination. That was the first time these media outlets, and you want us, we can call them Sylvester Monroe, the late George Curry, and a couple of others. George Curry at the time was working for the Chicago Tribune. Sylvester Monroe was with Time Magazine. They were assigned to the campaigns of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. Milton Coleman, with the Washington Post, was assigned to the campaign of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Remember the whole Hymietown comment? That was made to Milton Coleman.
Was Barbara Reynolds doing
Barbara Reynolds, I don't know if she was covering it, but same thing.
Had a platform.
Had a platform.
Did it after that.
And so what I need y'all to understand why these things matter is because when you are on these campaign teams, you are elevated. Reverend Jackson then runs again in 1988. That led to more African Americans being picked to be on these campaign teams. And let me just give you that before Michael comments, because I just need y'all to understand, you know, how this whole thing works. So let me just go ahead and break it down. So I started making appearances on CNN in 2002. 4.5 years of free appearances. We trying to knock the door down. And so then in 2007, it was 2006, we get the shot. I go do somebody else's pilot. And so then all of a sudden, I do very well in the pilot. Then somebody goes, hey, who's that guy right there? Then we start talking. And I get signed at CNN in February of 2007. And let me help y'all out. So, and just so y'all know, I put this in my book on Obama, but the CNN people asked me to take it out because it made them look like fools. So what happened was I get signed by CNN through New York, okay? But the political team, it all runs through D.C. The political team didn't want to use me. The political team was like, oh, this is just some radio dude out of Chicago, because they couldn't read the resume. And so what happened was they said, well, like, you know what, we ain't going to use this brother. Okay, so here's what happened. we go through 2007. You know, I'm doing various Obama announces. They really ain't trying to use a brother, okay? They ain't using me to talk politics. I'm talking religion, all kind of other stuff. They ain't trying to use me. We get to 2008. So the first night we got a primary. It's Iowa. All right? I'm sitting here debating Bill Bennett on CNN earlier. Me and him are going at it. I'm kicking his behind. And then when we got done, Sam Feist, who was deputy bureau chief, who's now bureau chief of CNN, comes down to walk Bill upstairs to see the set. Let me just reset that, y'all. Wow. Me and Bill were doing a segment together. He comes down to get Bill, who's standing right next to me, and to walk him up. I said, what the hell? I'm going to follow right behind y'all and walk up my damn self. So I was supposed to be debating James Carville that night, but Carville got suspended from our team because him and Paul Bagalia was still helping Hillary Clinton. So I was like, yo, who am I debating? Oh, we'll figure that out later. Let me help y'all understand this here. So what then happens is we're sitting here on the set. They don't even tell me what time they bringing the food downstairs. They don't tell me where to find the exit polling data. So I come down from my office on my own. All right, no sweat, okay? So election night, Iowa. Yo, we go break, 7 o'clock. I'm off on the sideline. They got the A-team on, okay? 7:30, nothing. 8, nothing. 8:30, nothing. 9, nothing. I'm emailing, and so people are on the air saying, oh, well, like Obama, we don't know where he is tonight watching election results. I sent an email. He's having dinner with friends and campaign staff right now. And then Booker goes, oh, my God, Stephanie Katubi. Oh, my God, that's great. And so then about an hour later, when he wins, okay, Obama has won. We don't know when he's coming to the convention center. I'm like, he's going to be leaving the restaurant in 20 minutes. Then they're like, oh, my God, who are you talking to? I said, the person sitting next to him at dinner. I said, if y'all asses put me on the air, y'all would get all this information. Yes, sir. And so what then happens is Stephanie Katubi goes down to the next floor below us and we need to get this guy on the air. They ain't trying to have me on the air. I'm going somewhere. I just need y'all to understand. And so then all of a sudden they tell me, hey, Roland, can you get Obama to do a beeper with Wolf? Wow. What a beeper is, if he can phone in. I said, you want me to do what? I need y'all to understand what I'm telling y'all. I wasn't on the air, y'all.
Come on.
I was off air. But you asking me to use my relationship to get Obama to come on the air, interview with Wolf? I said, if Obama come on the air tonight, talk to anybody, he talking to Roland and Wolf. Yes, sir. Not just Wolf. I didn't call the Obama campaign. I said, I bet not see y'all asses on TV tonight talking to him. Y'all, I'm telling you, I said that. Y'all, I didn't get on till 10:30. Got on for about 8 minutes, okay? And they put me on with Carl Bernstein. I was like, okay, I said, how y'all rolling? I didn't get on. So check this out. So the next day, Obama goes to New Hampshire. He'd already promised me an interview for the radio station, okay, for WVON radio. I then go, all right, cool. So then I'm like, well, damn, I had a morning show. I was on from 6 to 10. The interview was going to be at 2 o'clock. Hell, I'm already off the air. So I'm sitting in my office, and I go, I know what we going to do. Last night, they wanted me to do a beeper between Obama and Wolf, have him call the control room. I'm going to interview Obama from the same set that Wolf was on last night, and I'm going to stay in the same spot he was in last night. And so we going to record this sucker for radio, but I'm going to do it like it's a TV interview. So I hit the CNN people. I was like, okay, so here's how we going to do it. I got a radio interview with Obama. We can do it for television. We can put his photo on the wall. I can do the interview, and we can have it for radio and also have it for TV. Now, they hype. Y'all don't understand. Obama didn't talk to nobody. He gave no interviews the day after hour because he lost his voice. I'm the only interview in the country he did. So they all excited. Y'all, they all hype. Oh, yeah, we love Roland now. Okay, so all of a sudden, I do the interview. They come back, Patricia DiCarlo, producer in D.C. Roland, oh, man, this is great. Can we call this a CNN exclusive? I said, nope. You can call it a WVON Radio Roland Martin exclusive. You got the interview because I work for y'all. But the interview was for WVON.
Wow. The voice of the Negro.
Put it on. Got the interview.
They used to call it.
I walk into the office of John Klein, the president, and he goes, I'm going to put a bug in the ear of Sam Feist for them to get you on more. And that's why, after Iowa, after that on a Friday, y'all saw me on all of the major panels because I had, as a reporter, access via connections. I was a journalist. They didn't have any of it. Michael, that's why black media matters.
I don't even know what I'm supposed to say after that.
Come on, bro. Support Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Absolutely. And go online and do the $50,
no
the whole
question.
thing. One thing you said, Professor, when you were talking about Ebony, I thought you were going to say Jet, too.
Oh, yeah. The whole JPC empire, brother.
But I think, Roland, what's happened, the CBS issue, I think we have gotten so caught up. When I say we, just everybody, I don't mean any group specifically, so caught up in we're overcompensating for kind of, you know, I hate to even use this term, who's best for the merits to be the next wave of reporters.
Right.
You know, it's okay to say if they're going to be 10, we need to have a certain amount of Latino cats. We need to have some brothers on there and some sisters. And then it also reminded you when you mentioned they wanted to use you for the interview. I remember April Ryan a couple months ago. Trump or Sarah Sanders, one of them said to April, "Hey, April, can you give me a meeting with Congressional Black Caucus?"
Yeah.
No.
Trump asked in the press.
That's what I do.
Sarah or Trump. I wasn't sure who did.
That's right.
So you're exactly right. And sometimes it's okay to say, you know what? We need to have our panel look like America.
Yeah, it's just very simple as that. And so I just want, and again, y'all, they told me don't put that in the book. I mean, it's right. Rick Davis, here's Anderson Practices, said, don't put this in the book because it's going to make us look stupid. I'm like, because y'all were stupid. I'm like, you dumbasses should have put me on the air. Well, yeah, but don't put it in the book. So now y'all know what actually happened. All right, we'll see what happens. What happened next.
That's right.
All right, so, trust me, I got some others. Y'all know I do. All right, folks, Charleston, South Carolina plays a huge role in African-American history. More enslaved African captives arrived in the U.S. and were sold there than any other place on U.S. soil. Soon there will be a museum that tells the untold experiences of Americans of African descent. Here to discuss, the International African American Museum, soon to be located in Charleston, South Carolina, is its president, Michael Boulware Moore. Michael, how you doing?
Doing great, thank you.
So
how are you?
So, Michael, I had you on my previous show, and when you guys were starting, and so where are you now? I was reading a story the other day where you now have to raise another $10 million.
Yeah, we are working hard. But first, let me just take a moment because the conversation you were just having about the media is really so important. You know, history is essentially the stories that we tell about ourselves, about our communities, about life. And unless there are people, let's just keep it plain, unless there are African Americans in the room telling these stories, at least adding perspective to these stories, then our history automatically gets warped. So you're absolutely right. Black media matters. And the stories that you told before is the perfect illustration of that. But back to the question that you asked, we're working really hard. We actually had an announcement in August where we had reached our fundraising goal. It's a $100 million project, including the value of the real estate. And we thought that we were there and hired our general contractor that has been out pricing all of the different, accepting all the bids and all that. And you know, as a result of inflation generally, but, you know, tariffs and the fact that Charleston is a very, very hot market, we've got to raise another 10 million or so. Now, we've been continuing to work hard, and we have already raised a good deal into that 10 million. Looking hard to close the gap because we are affiliated with the city of Charleston, because we are in partnership with them. We actually have to have all the money in the bank before we can break ground. So it's very critical. It's a little bit of a curveball, but like I said, we've got good momentum. We're working hard, and we're looking forward to hopefully breaking ground sometime later this year. So explain to people the difference about, like I said, I had you on before, but for folks who are watching this for the first time, the difference between the International African American Museum you're going to have there in Charleston and the Smithsonian Museum of Smithsonian Museum as here in Washington, D.C. Well, a number of things, and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, their executive director, Lonnie Bunch, is one of our biggest fans, because what he says is that we've got all this history in our museum, but unless you go to where the history happened and see that history interpreted and told there, then it doesn't really, it sort of undercuts what he's trying to do. We are building an African American history museum on the spot largely where that history began. It's where almost half of all the enslaved Africans who came to the United States throughout the course of the entire transatlantic slave trade, where they took their first steps, where they landed, more enslaved Africans arrived there and were sold there than any other place in America. So it's sacred ground. It's a powerful context for what we're trying to do. A number of other differences. You know, Charleston was really the capital of slavery in a manner of speaking. It's again, more enslaved folks came here. It was the richest city in America for over 100 years because of the profitability of slavery and because of rice, which was America's really first sort of cash crop. So we'll tell those stories, not just because it's where we are, but because so much of the early history that happened here was fundamental. We've got a couple of other differences. We've got a very active Center for Family History where people can come and really fill in the gaps of their family tree, their family history. Most African Americans can maybe go back to a great-grandparent, maybe a great-great-grandparent, but it's really difficult to do African-American family search. We've got some of the best experts in the country here, and so we'll help people, you know, figure out who their relatives were, what their family history was. And then, of course, with DNA testing, people can point specifically to where their DNA came from. So that'll be different. But they're complementary museums in the sense that we will tell sort of the broad swath of African American history as well. We'll heavy up on what happened in the region, what happened in South Carolina, again, because so much of that early history happened here.
If folks want to give, where do they go?
Thank you for asking. Our website, it's iaamuseum.org/membership. We started a little over a year ago a charter membership program where people can actually get in on the ground floor and become a member. You know, this is a very, as I said, a very special institution. It's, you know, we hope to create a sense of pilgrimage about the International African American Museum. Doesn't matter where you are. We've done the genealogical research. There's a greater than 99% probability that all living African Americans have at least one relative among the almost half that landed here. So it's that common place where we can go and sort of pay homage to our original American ancestors.
All right.
iaamuseum.org/membership.
All right, Michael. And if you break ground soon, what's the when you plan to open this?
Yeah, it's about a 2-year construction cycle. So we're hoping for a summer, let's say, groundbreaking, and then 2 years later, 2021, we'll open.
All right, then. Michael Boulware, we certainly appreciate it, man. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, then. These museums are critically important, as you know, Greg, to our history and telling the story. And let me just say this before I go to a break real quick here. I did this with News One Now, and we're going to continue to do this. Typically, when I'm traveling, a lot of times I'll do the show from a black museum. I'll purposely find places that you may not even know exist. And so, like, we tried to do a show from Orlando. There's a black museum there no one knew about. Somebody told me there's a Harriet Tubman Museum that's in Augusta, Georgia. And so no matter where you are, take the time to find out about a black museum that's there in your city and support them. with 5, 10, 25, 50 bucks as well, because we have to maintain those museums. And a lot of our museums open and then struggle because of finances. And so no matter where you're living, we want you to do that. And one of the things that we're also trying to do with this show, which is one of the reasons why I'm imploring people to join our Bring the Funk fan club, is that I also want to create a series where when we do travel to these places, we're actually doing stories on these museums. So we have these stories so we can create this repository of a digital archive of all these different black museums and talking to the curators and the people who are over them. So whether or not you're talking about that one in Augusta or the museums they open in Birmingham or in Mobile, in Dallas, in Detroit, in Kansas City with the Negro Leagues Museum, that we really sort of have those stories told. And that's another reason why this show matters. Going to a break. I'll be back. Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a moment.
There can be no true black political liberation without religious and cultural liberation. Minister and academic Garrett Wilmore.
All right, y'all, Roland, of course, our HBCU Giving Day school is Tennessee State University, located in Nashville, Tennessee, founded in 1912. It is the largest and only state-funded historically black university in Tennessee. Notable graduates include Oprah Winfrey, Moses Gunn, Wilma Rudolph, Howard Gentry, and how in the hell y'all did not put Greg Carr on there?
Same class as Oprah, 1987, brother.
How did you do it?
That's all right. Everybody at Howard, y'all understand it's blue and white, but y'all getting taught by Tennessee State. Roland Martin is representing my.
Understand. So just want to let y'all know.
You, brother.
Just so y'all know. So what happened was last week. I hit President Glenda Glover. She, of course, Dr. Glenda Glover. She's also international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I said, I'm going to do Tennessee State on Monday. I said, when I spoke there several years ago, y'all gave me an Afghan. I can't wear that. So she said, yeah, I'm going to put a hoodie in the mail. It'll be there tomorrow. I got it on Friday. And so that's why I'm representing Tennessee State today. And so hope is good. I can't wait to go back and speak. It's been years since I spoke there. Would love to come back, even do one of y'all commencements, because y'all know I bring the funk when I do commencements. Yes, I'm just letting y'all know.
Come on.
I don't do regular commencement.
Bring Roland.
Just letting y'all know.
Bring Roland.
So Tennessee State is our school of the day. All right, folks, continuing our series on outstanding HBCU professors in partnership with AT&T's Dream in Black initiative. Today we visited Virginia Union University in Richmond, Virginia. How are you preparing students for a different world we're living in? This is not, we're seeing church membership on the decline, people actually watching online. And so how are you getting students today to understand that it's a whole different world than probably the world they grew up in going to church?
What we're doing is we're really training the next generation of religious and faith leaders, not only for congregations but also for communities. We recognize that not everyone coming to seminary may find themselves within a congregation, but there are individuals who come to seminary who want to go out in different walks and different paths in their ministry. We provide that type of education that translates not only across churches but across broader swaths of society. And that is deep built into what this institution is.
How are you making sure these students are thinking as broad as possible so they can understand all the possibilities, as opposed to, church,
this is the only one
pulpit,
model.
this is the only way you do it?
So what we do at the Proctor School is make sure that we pair up our students with dynamic and diverse ministry partners that are not only in churches but also throughout all sectors of society. You can find our seminarians at Richmond Hill right here in Richmond, Virginia, a center that's dedicated to bringing peace to the city. You can find our seminarians in schools, in public schools. You can find our seminarians here on campus integrating their knowledge with undergraduate graduate students here in various venues. So we understand that ministry is dynamic, it is diverse in the 21st century. We're preparing those students to continue to go out in a diverse environment because we know that church just doesn't occur at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings.
How would you think black, dream black, and preach black?
We are a seminary that understands that the worth, value, and dignity of our humanity is deeply imbricated with how we are as a people, as a black people. That blackness imbues itself not just in the color of our skin, but in the ways in which we understand and cognate God in the world, the same God that has continued God's journey with us across these centuries to ensure that we are still fighting for freedom and justice in the world, and the same God who affirms our dignity and the variety and depth and diversity of our black culture and our black humanity. That's the beautiful thing about the Proctor School. It doesn't see anything, it doesn't see blackness as pathological. It doesn't see blackness as something that's antithetical. It doesn't see blackness as something that is just marginal. It is who we are. When we look at the image of God, when we talk about the Imago Dei, when we are built and made in the image of God, God made us in God's image. And our blackness, our culture, our heritage, and our history is part and parcel of that divine gift of who we are as a people.
So your district name is one of the seminaries changing the world. What does that mean, and how does it feel being recognized as one of those critically important seminaries?
I think it affirms what we're doing as our mission. It affirms what we've done since the founding of this institution in 1865 and the founding of the seminary, formerly as the Graduate School of Religion in 1941. It affirms the vision that we have of providing a prophetic message and prophetic leaders dedicated to going out into the world to transforming the world. It also affirms that we've built an infrastructure, that our curriculum, the ways in which we offer scholarships to our students, the ways in which we offer co-curricular activities. We take students to Africa each and every year to ensure they're connecting with the continent and also connecting with our diasporic brothers and sisters in the Americas. It also means that we are designed and engineered for innovation to continue to deliver a transformative message grounded in the liberating gospel that is the gospel of Jesus. So what it does do is it affirms us institutionally, it affirms us holistically, and it affirms a vision of a seminary dedicated to going out and living out the message of the gospel in the world in a way that is unapologetic, in a way that is contemporary, a way that is affirmative of black people, black history, and black culture, and in a way that welcomes everyone to not only this seminary, but everyone to a transformed world where we're all valued for who we are, not in spite of our differences, but because of our differences, because God creates creation in all of its diversity and all of its humanity.
All right, folks, for more information, go to AT&T.com, Dream in Black, AT&T.com, Dream in Black. All right, folks, I told you we're all about supporting Roland Martin Unfiltered. The great work we do, we have to travel to those universities to do those stores, and that costs money. And so we want you to join our Bring the Funk fan club. And so we're going to roll the credits right now. Y'all go ahead and roll it. I can talk over it. And so these are the people who have been supportive of they are Charter Club members. We got about 1,100 people who signed up. My goal, we launched on September 4th. My goal is by September of 2019, we have a total of 20,000 people. So we got about 18,900 to go. We want you to become one of those people. All we're asking is $50, not per month. If you want to do that, that's fine. But really for an average of $50 per person for the year to support what we are doing. If we hit 20,000, that's $1 million that we'll raise that really makes all this possible. We have plans, of course, to travel all across the country. We've got elections coming up. We're going to be having town halls with presidential candidates, all kind of stuff. None of that stuff can happen without you. We've got our advertisers who are one hand, but that's not going to make all the dollars necessary. So please, we want you to go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com to join our fan club. I'm going to just tell y'all a story. I had a sister who's 91 years old from Long Island, New York, who watched me on TV One, whose daughter told me what I was doing, and this woman said, your voice is so important. She enclosed a $500 check to make this show possible before we even launched this show. That tells you right there the commitment. She was 90, she's 91 years old. And so we want you to join us. So if you go right now, look, we got Cash App, we got Square, we got PayPal, all those different sources. Now, some of y'all have also been saying, why am I not on Patreon? Patreon is a place to place content. Well, I don't need Patreon to place content. And so that's why I'm not on Patreon. You can go to our website and join us directly to get your name on this list. And you know there's some other people out there who love talking about black folks, but they name it on this list. But I ain't gonna go call them out right now. Y'all can see for yourselves. But we want you again to get your name on this list. And so every week we're gonna roll these credits of the people who are supportive of this show, making it possible. And so we want you to go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. I'm going to be broadcasting. I'm speaking North Carolina Central on Wednesday. I'll be broadcasting the show from there. I'm speaking to the Decatur, Illinois NAACP on Friday. I'm going to be broadcasting the show from there as well. We've got NAACP Image Awards coming up. We'll be broadcasting from there. So we got some great things lined up. Also, I'm going to be at the NBA All-Star Game in Charlotte. We'll be broadcasting from there as well. And so we've got a lot of things lined up. We want to bring you the type of stories nobody else is bringing. For the third day in a row, we spent 35 minutes talking about Steve King. I can guarantee you we've done more on Steve King than all these other cable networks combined. And then we talk about the International Museum. We talk about these HBCU professors. Nobody is doing the kind of stuff that we do 5 days a week on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So we want you to support us. And folks, let me just say it, like right now, as I look right now, it is, let's see here, it is 600. We had 735 of y'all who were on YouTube right now. We've got, let's see, about 150 or so on Periscope, about 230 on Facebook. That means that if every person who's watching right now literally gave, we would double our donors just today. So go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We certainly want you to support this show to make this thing possible, because trust me, I've got some stuff in 2020 that's going to blow y'all away, but we can't get to 2020 unless we get through 2019. And so RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Want to thank Eugene, want to thank Michael, want to thank Greg for being on the show. Thank you so very much. And folks, don't forget, we're going to have a fantastic show tomorrow. Let's find out what Republicans are going to be doing when it comes to Steve King. We'll have the latest on that. Also on censure. You name it, we'll have it. Keep it black, keep it real. I got to go. Holla! You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.